Shalom, Israel. Great rising, grand rising. I hope everyone has a great day. Most High put it on my spirit to drop this message, so it shouldn't be long. I don't know if it's going to be long or not because I obey the Most High. But anyway, I know it's a lot of us going through some things, some not so good things, some things we don't like, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, relationship-wise, going through something. And some of us mad, sad as hell, depressed as hell, upset. But that's part of life. And the thing about it is that don't worry about what you're going through or why you're going through it. Focus on who's going through it with you, which is the Most High, because he says he controls all things, whether they're good or bad. He controls all things. So whatever we going through, it's a reason behind it. And he's in control. Remember when Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery? Well, they wanted to kill him first. But some of them, especially Reuben, was like, man, no man, y'all, you know, and he like, man, we ain't killing them now. Come on now. But they sold him into slavery. Of course, they felt bad about it later. They felt horrible. But they sold him into slavery. And we know Joseph, not only was he sold into slavery, then he was thrown into prison in the king's house for 12 years. And he extended his stay in prison because he tried to make a deal with two men, when the Most High said, don't trust in no man, only trust in him. But anyway, Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers, by our fathers now, the children of Israel. So they let you know now, ain't nobody perfect now. We're all human. But if the Most High loves you, he loves you. If he forgives you, he forgives you. But he's going to correct us and mess too when we mess up. But anyway, and I say mess up because he says he controls all things, because everything is done according to his good will and his pleasure. But anyway, they sold Joseph into slavery. And Joseph eventually, after his prison term, the Most High lifted him up. He became king of Egypt, basically, the second in command over everything. The Most High made Joseph find favor in the house of Pharaoh and in Pharaoh. The Most High did that. So when the famine came, because the Most High knew a famine was going to sweep the land, because he ordains and writes down everything. Joseph he got the vision, interpreted the vision, knew that a famine was coming. He interpreted the vision that the Most High gave somebody else. A couple of more people. He knew a famine was coming. So he started to store up corn and food. He told the people of Egypt to store up corn and food, because the famine was coming. But since the Most High was lifting Joseph up to have favor and prestige and status, they stored up food. But once the famine hit, rats and raccoons and all kinds of vermin had eaten up all the Egyptians' food, even though they stored up food because Joseph told them to. But all the food Joseph had stored up was perfectly preserved. So when the famine hit, of course his father, Joseph's fathers and brothers whom he not seen, and Jacob thought he was dead. His brothers didn't know where he was. When the famine hit, they was wealthy, rich as heck. They had no food though. So they had to go to Egypt to buy food, because Egypt was the only place you can go get food. Because the Most High had given Joseph that kind of prestige after everything he had been through. Everything he had been through. So they went to Egypt to get some food. Now eventually, I ain't gonna tell the whole story. They didn't know it was Joseph. He played a little game with them. I ain't gonna even say a game. He got their ass back. And they was ready to fight him, yada, yada, yada. But anyway, eventually they got the food. Jacob ended up knowing that, Joseph was alive. Jacob lived in Egypt 17 years before he finally died. But they didn't go to Egypt to live, Jacob did, until he was 130 years old. But anyway, Joseph eventually revealed himself to his brothers. Fed them, gave them the best part of the land of Goshen, Egypt. Because when they went down there, they were just 2 years into the famine, so still had another 5 years left. But they didn't starve. Their wealth increased. Then nobody want to mess with Jacob and his sons anyway, because they knew the Most High was with them, because them cats was beating the brakes off people. But still, Pharaoh still allowed Joseph to do what you want to do. Give him the best part of Goshen in Egypt. Give him all the food. But then in the word, it tells you that this doing was of the Most High, about as far as Joseph getting sold into slavery, his brothers selling him. And that's what Joseph told them. Even though he was mad, he said, no, this thing was done because of the Most High, the God of our fathers, the Creator. He's the reason y'all sold me into slavery, to save y'all from this famine that he knew was going to eventually come, and he was going to put me in place to take care of y'all by his grace and his will and his power. So they could have been worried about what they were going through or why they was going through it, but they was focused on who was going through it with them. But they couldn't understand his ways, just like we can't understand his ways. And I know people be like, well, goddamn, why he just didn't make them rich, make sure they still have food instead of going through all that? Because the word tell you that he caused them to sell Joseph into captivity just for that day in the future to come, so Joseph can save them from the famine. Why the Most High just be working like that? He said, we can't understand his ways. And also, as far as the children of Israel are concerned, us, he says, we are his people. He created the earth for our sakes. So then you have to ask yourself, why did he create the earth for our sakes if we already up there with him? If he created the earth for our sakes, okay, so maybe the earth is an experience for us. Like I say, when you get everything given to you, you become ungrateful. Spoiled children are ungrateful. When they get everything they want, everything they desire, they get. They don't appreciate struggle because they don't know struggle. So if you don't know struggle and adversity, you don't appreciate good because you don't know anything else. So the Most High said he made the earth for our sake. So maybe it's for a different experience, to give us some struggle and some adversity, because the Most High said he controls everything. He's already ordained everything. What was is going to be again, and what is to be, he already determined it. It didn't already happen. That's what the word said. That's what he said. He said he's determined the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end. I mean, he'd already wrote it down. So he already know these things were going to be happening. Like when Jacob died, he told his sons, he said, look, y'all living good now, but eventually y'all gonna start going through some troubles and some oppressions in the land of Egypt now. He was prophesying. He said, but remember now, always worship the God of our fathers, the God of my fathers, what Jacob was saying, Abraham, which is the Most High, only, and serve him only. Because y'all gonna go through something, but he gonna be there with you because he causing it to happen. But anyway, I think about that. Maybe the Most High, he made the earth for our sake, maybe to give us a different experience. So we'll appreciate the good, because like I say, if all you have is good and wonderful and amazing and you get everything you want, you become a little ungrateful, whether we in a spiritual form or not. So that's how I look at it. That's what came to me. Like, yeah, I created the earth for y'all's sake to give y'all a different experience. So don't worry about what you're going through or why you're going through it. Focus on who's going through it with you. The Most High, children of Israel, because it's tough and rough on us right now. But that's according to his plan. We have to remain loyal to him and to him only. No idols, nobody else but him. He's the one we love and respect, because he's the one that's controlling this. Trust in him. Focus on who's going through this stuff with you. The Most High. Shalom.